Luke chapter 18. It's the shrillest, most awful, terrible, irritating, makes you shudder when you hear my sister play the instrument as she practiced in her bedroom, and I could hear it all over the house. Jackie, my sister, 3 years older than I. She died when she was 25. But I cannot forget that. It sent chills down my back when she would play that instrument. There is nothing worse than a wooden fife by itself. But when she was joined with 45 other young ladies in Meridian, at the Meridian Fife and Drum Corps in Pennsylvania, and they would go to the parade and march, beautiful to hear all those fifes together, one by itself. Ooh. It's like taking your fingers and scraping them across the blackboard. Remember that? That's the way it sounded. But the Meridian Fife and Drum Corps was renowned all over the state of Pennsylvania. And they marched in the parades, and we had real parades. Now, please do not consider this as a put down, but it is. Parades down here to the Deep South. You know what a parade is here? It's 15 politicians in a car waving as they go by, and a flatbed, people on it throwing tons of candy out to the crowds on the side for the town cleanup crew to sweep up the next day. That's a parade. That's not a parade. A parade is Meridian Fife and Drum Corps, or the Lindora Drum and Bugle Corps, or those others that we would hear at parades. And what a parade it was on VJ Day. The only one man in here knows about VJ Day, do you, Steve-O? VJ Day, the end of World War II, when Japan was finally defeated. And what a parade it was in Butler. I don't know if you had a parade here. Maybe they threw candy out at the kids, I don't know. Maybe a few politicians waved. But there was a parade in Jericho. Now, I know Jericho. June and I were in Jericho 1980. And I remember Jericho, one of the oldest cities in the world. I remember two things about it. We sat out in an open courtyard eating with, I think, 50 or 75 kitty cats all over everything. That's what I remember about Jericho. But I also know about Jericho from Luke chapter 18 was the parade that they had. What a parade it was. Music, dancing, shouting, praising God, the crowds coming through the little town of Jericho. And on the side of the road, a beggar. Luke chapter 18, 35 and following, and as he, Jesus, drew near to Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. And hearing a crowd going by, he inquired what this meant. They told him, Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. And he cried out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And those who were in the front rebuked him, telling him, shh, be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped and commanded him to be brought to him. And when he came near, he asked him, what do you want me to do for you? Lord, let me recover my sight. And Jesus said to him, recover your sight. Your faith has made you whole. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed Jesus, followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God. A parade in Jericho. Jesus was passing by. You know, for a lot of us who come to worship in church, I hate to say this, but it's true. Do we really worship, or is it a spectator sport? We kind of sit back and listen to things and watch everybody, but do we really involve ourselves in glorifying and praising God, exalting Him, blessing His name? Do we do that? Or do we just kind of sit in our pew, kind of like a beggar on the roadside? And Jesus is passing us by every service we have. And He's here today. He's gone tomorrow. This might be your only opportunity. This might be your only chance. This might be the only time for you to have an experience with Jesus. You miss it today. You're just there spectating, enjoying the service, listening to the music, hearing the word, but never really involving yourself. Just begging in your pew. And as that parade came through Jericho, just like they go through our lives today, we oftentimes celebrate the celebrity rather than celebrate God. One of the problems we have in our Protestant, non-Catholic kind of religion is so often it's built around a preacher. And the preacher is the thing. You turn on the television to see and hear the preacher, but you're not involved yourself. It's kind of like just sitting back and enjoying the celebrity. And the more famous you are, the greater it is. And you haven't really worshiped God. You have just been watching the celebrity as he expounds the word, entertains the crowd, and gets everybody all excited. Just sitting on the sideline, but not really getting involved. Not at all. There's something about coming to the little local church or the big local church. There's something about coming with the fellowship of believers and engaging in corporate worship in which you and they are locked together and united together in praising God. Much different than just sort of sitting back and watching the show, watching the parade, just sitting by. But this man did not just sit by. He cried out. He cried to Christ. He cried to the Son of David. And how did he know it was Jesus? He had probably heard of Jesus. When he hears all the commotion and all the crowds and all of the celebration and the singing and the dancing and the running through the streets, he said, what's going on? Sometimes you ask, what's going on here? What is actually going on? I think he knew about Jesus as being a miracle worker. He knew that Jesus had the power of God, could change lives and heal lives. You've heard that all your life, ever since Sunday school, ever since little boys and girls growing up. You've heard what Jesus can do. But have you experienced it? He had heard of Jesus, I believe, but he hadn't really experienced Jesus. As long as he sat on the roadside begging, he had to ask, who is this? And he told him, it's Jesus. And so he screams out, mercy, help me, save me, heal me, do something. Shh, shh. Do not upset the worship service. Do not upset the parade. Do not make a commotion. Back off. Be quiet. Sit down. Hush up. And be reverent. Sometimes we do that. We don't want anyone to create a disturbance by being saved, by being healed, by having their sight given to them. But even though they tried to intimidate him, they could not. You could not stop him from crying out. In fact, he cried out again and again and again. More, more, more. They could not quash his desire to know more about Jesus. Just sitting by or crying out, that thanks be unto God, he began to follow on. What I like about this whole passage is when it says Jesus stopped in his tracks. He's never too busy for you. He's never too involved in other things of the world for you. He always hears your cry, whatever you're going through, whatever you are hurting, whatever is the yearning in your heart. Even if you don't say the words out loud, he reads your mind, he reads your heart. He knows you're hurting, he knows your pain, and he will stop just for you, just as he stopped for me so many years ago. He always hears the lone cry for help. You're never lost in the crowd. You can be in this church, 25, 30 people, but he hears you. You can be in a cathedral with thousands of people sitting there, but he hears you. He always hears you. And if you have the faith to say, I believe in you, I trust in you, come and make my life different. Give me my sight. Give me my legs. Give me my arms. Give me my health. Give me my happiness. Give me my peace. Give to me what you want me to have. Jesus, give it to me. He will give it to you when you trust him and believe in him so much. And you begin to follow him. A couple Sundays ago, we had a young man and young woman. I've known the young man since he was 16. They both made a lot of mistakes in their life. The reason I know that is I made mistakes in mine and I can identify them. They came forward because they had the faith to believe that Jesus could change them. No matter how many times you fail, no matter how deep and dark is your despair, he can change you, and he will. And they came and they said, we believe that. We want that. They will be following in believers' baptism very soon, but not until I have spent some time in their homes, gone over the scriptures, and helped them to understand exactly what it means. But you as a church, can I say this right now? Thank you, church. You as a church said, okay, you kids made mistakes. Well, to me, they're kids. But we accept you as you are. We accept you by faith. You accept us by faith. Because here's the thing. They may not know all about all of you, but everyone in here has made those mistakes. Everyone in here has had those failings. Every one of us, pulpit and pew, have things we wish we had. And they accept us, and we accept them. But that's what it's all about. Accepting each other, because Jesus stops, listens. What do you need? What do you want? And he gives it to them on the basis of grace, on the basis of love. He was just passing by. He might have not asked who this is. He might not have called out to him, Lord, have mercy on me. The crowds may have hushed him up. He may have been intimidated. And it would have been too late, because Jesus would have just gone right on. He will not stop for you until you say, help me. She was only 6 weeks old when the doctor did something terrible. He put a poultice on Fanny Crosby's eyes at 6 weeks of age, and it blinded her. Never saw the light of day again. And yet she grew up with a faith that Christ could give to her an inner light, an inner light. She wrote 8,000 hymns. Totally blind. In 1868, she visited a prison. Fanny Crosby visited the prison. She spoke to the prisoners, and they played some of her songs. And immediately, a prisoner cried out, "Good Lord, do not pass me by." She went home. That night she sat down, and with help of a friend, she wrote this song, "Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior." He is passing you. He's passing you. He's here today. For you, he may be gone tomorrow. Would you stand?